Okay, y'all. So check this out. So today I got another good video for y'all. So check this out. We finna be talking about trine very, very briefly though. So now we all know that you got, especially in tropical astrology, you got trines, you got squares, oppositions, a lot of things of that nature. Now remember, I am astrologer in general, but Vedic astrology is my primary astrology. Sidereal Vedic astrology is my primary astrology. All forms of astrology work depend on the intuition and the analytical practical skill level of the actual reader. Now, let's go ahead and get into it. So most of y'all probably already know what trines is. So this kind of like a beginner's understanding for people who want more of like a visual representation. So now, what is a trine in astrology? So now, a trine is the most harmonious aspects in astrology, right? So now, it happens when two planets are approximately 120 degrees, 120, 120 degrees apart in the actual zodiac wheel, right? That means they're usually in the same element, fire, earth, air, or water, which makes them naturally get along, right? So what I want you all to understand is they're 120 degrees apart. So put it like this: basically, the birth chart circle, right? So let me go on there for you. Basically, the birth chart circle, right, is a 360 degree wheel, right? I want everybody to understand that, right? So the thing about it is, trines are basically when planets are 120 degrees apart, right? So you got 120 plus 120 plus another 120. You got those three separates, 120. You add them all together, they equal up what? 360, right? So what you can say is, so I'm gonna give you a prime example. So you see, like this would be the top of the triangle, and this would be the left, and this would be the actual right of it, or whatever. I guess you could say that, but that's just me playing around with it. But what trine is really this. So look at this. The moon right here is now in Taurus, right? Check this out. So, like I said, it will be other planets and other signs, right? Meaning that it's going to be more of a harmonious flow, right? And I'm going to explain that in a minute. So, since the moon is in Taurus, it's trine Mars and Venus inside of Virgo and part of Fortune. And then it's also trine Jupiter and Capricorn. But we can look at it, oh, well, Jupiter and Capricorn is trine a moon inside of Taurus with Mars and Venus and part of Fortune inside of Virgo, right? Or we can look at it like this: they got Rahu inside of or the south or the north node, y'all call it tropical astrology. North node is trying Neptune, right? You see what I'm saying? Or the north node is trying the vertex, right? But that's essentially what it is, right? But now let's get back to the actual format so I can break it down. So now, what does a trine do? Trines represent ease and flow and natural talent. So now think of it like two friends who finish each other's sentence and they just click, just like that. It's like, oh man, you said what I was just gonna say. Exactly. Like, you see what I'm saying? So like I'm gonna give you an example. So now when the sun is trying the moon, what is the sun? It's the soul, it's the essence, right? Confidence a lot of times. Ego, right? What is the moon? The mind. Moon is really more so the ego, but that'll be another video. Moon is the mind and emotional perception, right? So if they trying in each other, they're sending harmonious energy and harmonious light towards each other. I want everybody to fully understand that, right? And what can that create? A strong inner balance, right? Because you taking the soul and you taking the mind and merging them together as far as like the influencing with the positive qualities of real talk, and it can increase your self confidence. Or if you got things like Mercury trying like Saturn, make you more focused and structured thinking. Why is that? Because remember, Mercury is your analytical skills, right? Mercury is how you process things, right? So the moon is more like the emotional reactionary state in how you perceive a situation or just things in general, right? Like I feel like this about life. I feel like that about life. I feel like this about life. But then when Mercury come in, Mercury is like, okay, let's pick apart. Why exactly do you feel like this? And let's analyze every single thing, nook and cranny. Let's run across all avenues to come to a clear, concise understanding of why you feel the way you feel. See, that's not you see. It just got a hella detail oriented because that's why Mercury rules over what Virgo and Gemini. But Virgo is one analytical, practical side. But when Mercury tries Saturn, you got to understand Saturn is very structured and very disciplined. So now you're taking the analytical capabilities, and you are like kind of giving those energies towards this Saturnian type of energy, right? Meaning that the way you are going to be a very strong logic based person. This person ain't gonna finna want to play all that. Oh, fantasy and imagination. They like, okay, unless they got other placements that support that. But in general, this ain't the placement for that. Or like Venus trine Uranus, exciting but stable love life. Also could be an eccentric love life. It could be a rebellious love life, right? But it could probably be something that feel good to you. Something that could be extremely harmonious to you and who you actually are, right? So now, the flip side though. Now, trines is really relaxing, right? But sometimes they can make people too laid back. You like, you know what? Man. Sometimes you can be so good at it, you don't recognize that it's a talent. You don't recognize that it's a real skill, right? Like some people got like amazing basketball skills, and they never went to the league, never even tried out. But to them, they just shooting basketball in the neighborhood or whatever. You see what I'm saying? The whole time, you got the capabilities to actually make it all the way through and get paid millions of dollars. That's why I say sometimes trying it won't make you evolve. You be like, well, I'm good enough. That's all I know. Yeah, trines can do that. So now, the elements also matter, right? So now, trines almost always involve signs. Of course. So now, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, the fire signs, right? That's passion, drive, and action, right? That's what the fire group together rules overall, right? Then you got Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. That's practicality and that's stability, right? Because the earth signs are about having a foundation and a basis, right? To order to get things done by step by step methodical process, right? Then you got Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, right? And those are the intellectual, kind of more social signs, right? Especially with the Gemini. Gemini, Libra, very social. Aquarius is social too, but Aquarius is more about this worldly influence type of thing, right? Like, okay, let's see what can we do to change society for the better? What can we do to put more, ultimate like social growth in? Like even with the introduction of AI, artificial intelligence, that's very much Aquarian like, right? Making new AI models, how we change, how we conversate, how we do stuff. Yeah, that's very Aquarian like. And you got Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, which are the emotions and the intuition, right? They're more spiritual, esoteric, deep quality of things. Yeah, you got all this stuff going on. Yeah. And so now, thing about it is, if you got a lot of trines, you probably have some areas in life where things just feel effortless. Like, man, I really don't really have to try. So now let's take a look at this person, right? So this person got Moon, trine, Jupiter, right? So this person got Moon in the fourth house. Fourth house is so what does fourth house rule over? Remember, these houses rule over so much stuff. But let's just look at it from the mental and emotional happiness, right? So now this person has moon inside of the fourth house in Taurus, right? So they got Jupiter, right? Trining their actual moon in the fourth house. Jupiter is in Capricorn, is debilitated though. Still in 12th house, but it is debilitated, right? So what you got to understand, they probably have like a natural understanding about spirituality, a natural understanding about the subconscious mind. Now, it might not be extremely deep. Why do I say that? Because Saturn controls over Capricorn. Saturn is now sitting where? Inside of Scorpio, right? And it's kind of like in an enemy sign in a sense, even though it's with Mercury. So they might try to intellectualize things a little bit more, and they might have some spiritual quality, but they might try to intellectualize things a little bit more, not letting them get to the full extent of what the client or whoever in front of them that needs some type of like spiritual guidance. It may not let them get to like that just pure soul spiritual quality, right? But since Jupiter is still there, you got to remember philosophy and wisdom is still kind of being more of a harmonious thing with their actual mind, right? So they're gonna feel like that they do have words of wisdom, right? And 12 house rules of other things, traveling, long distance trips and traveling, sexual bad pleasures. But I'm just talking about certain elements of it. Because you got some people be like, well, you do know the 12th house rule over this. I'm like, yes. But every house rule over a lot of different things. I'm only choosing certain things that I want to talk about for this actual video. For everybody who want to say, well, did you know that the fourth house is also the cars? Yes, I know it. But that's not what I'm talking about. Then you got the moon is also trying Mars and Venus, right? So this might be a person who probably could be dead set on like fighting for love, right? But it's gonna be a kicker to that in a minute. Y'all just stay tuned. So now, in short, trine equals what? A natural flow plus talent plus good vibes, right? It's one of those green light aspects in your chart that says go for it. But trines aren't invincible. Let's understand that. Even though a trine is an inherently smooth and supportive type of aspect, if one of the planets that is in the trine is getting beat up by a malefic aspect, like Saturn, I'm talking about Pluto, Uranus, Rahu, Ketu, which is your north and south nodes, Mars, yes, it can get disrupted or distorted, right? So now let's say example. So let's say you have Sun trine Jupiter. That's cold. I'm talking about spiritual philosophy. I'm talking about a strong thing of like optimism and stuff like that. But what if that's just Sun and Jupiter? They in a good relationship. But what if Mars is square the actual Sun, right? Then it's gonna kind of be more in a little bit hardship angle, which is making that trine not as like harmonious as you would think from a textbook definition, right? So this can turn that easygoing confidence into arrogance and reckless ego. So now you might push too hard, take impulsive risk, or even clash with authority. And that's what I was going to say right here, because what you got to understand is like the moon is still with Chiron, right? So you got to remember, there's still an unhealable wound. So no matter how much knowledge that they may get, they still may have a certain amount of like pessimism in their mind. And it could also involve relationships a little bit too, because you got to remember Mars and Venus are both trying in the actual what you call, and it's in the eighth house. In Vedic astrology, we call the sixth, eighth, and 12th house houses of hardship, also known as the stunner house, right? So you got to remember. So this moon is trying to both with two of the three the stunner houses, right? So you got to remember a lot of spiritual growth coming through like emotional pain, especially probably regarding like relationships, sexual intimacy, other people's resources, finances, maybe having problems. Maybe man, it's so much stuff that can come from these trines, especially if they not really placing like a good, positive, strong dignity. Yes, a lot of stuff can really come from it, right? So now, malefic aspects can twist the vibe, right? Depending on the planet involved. Mars can add aggression or restlessness. Saturn can bring restriction or fear. Pluto can also create power struggles or obsession. And Neptune might add confusion or delusion. Understand that. So even if the trine is still active, it's like a beautiful guitar. With one string out of tune, the music's there, but it's just not really quite right, right? So you like, man, I'm good at this, but I just telling you. So what's the move, right? Triumphs give strong potential, right? But if they got hard aspects, the thing about it is you're gonna have to put extra more work in it because the triumph still is harmonious, but now it's a certain amount of hardship that you have to overcome to actually receive and or really understand that beneficial aspect of your chart, right? So that's the triumphs really show like the skills you have, right? So now in real life, somebody might have Venus, trine, moon, emotional sweetness, but if Saturn is squaring that Venus, emotional repression, fear of intimacy, feeling unloved, probably. You see what I'm saying? It's a lot of stuff that can really come from it, right? So and really, so trines really equal smooth road, honestly. But if they got malefics, potholes and speed bumps, right? That's really what I wanted everybody to really understand, right? And so in the next video, I'm gonna be going over trines and different elements, right? Then after make them videos, I'm gonna be going over what grand trines are. Yeah, grand trines are. So, yeah. So yeah, so this is just a quick little trying to understand so y'all can really get a good comprehensive overview about it. So make sure you watch the video again and make sure you get a good understanding. So like, share, subscribe. You want to purchase any readings, just come holler at me on any one of my social media platforms. But other than that, I will talk to y'all later.